Well, over at City Park, PHS taking on the Warren Warriors. Top of the first. Chaz Elam legs out a grounder to the shortstop. No play on the dive. That'll be an infield hit. Next up, Noah Holland. Another ground ball to short. That'll be enough to bring home the first run of the contest, give Holland an RBI. Not long after, Jackson Myers gets a hold of one that gets to the fence out there in left center. He'll slide into third with a 2 RBI triple. Now on the mound, Tate Jonas gets out of the inning with the strikeout swinging, but not before the Big Reds go up 3-0. Luke Reiser starts off the second with a liner back up the middle. That'll be a leadoff single. However, Gavin Fling works around that leadoff single, getting the fly out to Parker Woods to end the inning as the Big Reds go on to win by double-digit runs.